Shalom, everyone. Welcome. Uh-oh. I think I don't know what I'm going to do because the camera, let me see. It's not looking right. I guess it's okay. Y'all bear with me. Sorry. It may get dark from time to time, but nothing I can do about it, no matter what angle. Anyway, just bear with me. We'll get through it, okay? So welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. This is the free astrotheology course. Man, I don't like the way it looks, though. Hold on. Wow, and I have I have my brightness up very high. Give me 1 second, y'all. Well, we had to make the most of it, all right? No matter which direction I face, the sunlight is going to be the same. So anyway, let's make it do what it do. Welcome. This is the free astrotheology course. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. And we are in our new class. This is a new course. This is our textbook, The Astrology of the Old Testament, or The Lost Word Regained. What's the lost word? The lost word is astrology. And according to this author and according to the science of astrology, the word of God is astrology. And in religion, when you hear the expression, the word of God, they're talking about the S-U-N sun. Okay, the S-U-N sun. All right, so let's get into it. I got to go back to the right page. All right, so in my notes, we are beginning on page 19. And, I can't wait to get out of chapter 1 and to go into, I think it's chapter 2 or 3. So let's make it do what it do. Without further ado, oh, by the way, I'm going to drink some of my coconut juice, coconut water. It's one of the best things about being in a tropical part of the world. You get to have coconuts. Trust me, you don't know what you're missing. It doesn't taste anything like coconut water or coconut juice you'd buy in the store. Totally different taste, especially when it's ice cold. And then if you get the small one that's all the way brown, it's more sweet. So the more brown it is, the more sweet. All right, y'all, first paragraph. Now let us observe that at the end of the chapter, there was this statement, the end of chapter 1. Quote unquote, the sixth day, viz., 6 periods of time in which the heavens and the earth were made. Now, I can tell you absolutely that Genesis chapter 1 is not a creation story about the creation of the heavens and earth. Y'all go back and watch the video that I did called, I think it's called A Critical Analysis of Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2, okay? So, so he's wrong here. He's wrong here. This is Christian doctrine. Okay, this is Christian doctrine, plain and simple. Christian doctrine, because when you look at the etymological meaning of the words and you look at the grammar rules, you look at the history of Genesis chapter 1, all right, you'll find that it's not a creative day at all, or not a creation account. It's a remix of the Babylonian creation account, but a remix, okay? Watch the video, Critical Analysis of Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2 that I did. And you'll see everything. I'm not just talking, I'm showing you the evidence. Now, in astrology, we have, according to the ancients, as governing or ruling and having dominion over the earth and all things as ordained upon it, Let this plane go by. The planets Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, and the moon. That's 6. That's 6. Okay? So let's go back and do it. Make a correlation. Go back to the beginning of the book, y'all. And here we see the planets. We see Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Anything beyond Saturn, any planet after Saturn, our ancestors did not know anything about. Okay, y'all? And the circles are their orbits. All right? Let's keep that clear. Why? Because the principle is we have to return to the principles and the heritage of our ancient foremothers and forefathers. And astrology is the fundamental science of our ancestors. It's the science of nature. So we go back to their heritage. And anything that modern astrologists came up with, I don't acknowledge. All right? I don't acknowledge, and I just told you why. Now, let's continue. And there's a whole reason why, right? Well, let's get into that. I'll just say one thing about that. I don't acknowledge it because the people who are in power, who control all of the information and institutions, they're publicly known publicly known liars and deceivers. They use science and history to deceive, okay? So I don't go for it. Anyway, let's continue. That's just me personally, but you do what you want to do. All right? Made in the image of the sun itself, or rather himself. So he's calling the sun a thing and a man. Itself, or rather himself. Okay, in other words, the personified sun. The orb, the disk in the sky that looks yellow, sometimes orange. It and him. Keep that in mind. So all the planets, according to this author, according to astrology, are made in the image of the sun. Now y'all should see where this is going, right? Genesis chapter 1. And Elohim made the man in his image and in his likeness. So the author is saying that the sun, sun, made Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, and the moon in its own image. Y'all see that? So what it appears to me is that this author is saying that in astrology, that quote unquote so-called creative process has nothing to do with the man at all. The man either being Elohim or the man being the created creature that he created in his image. But it was all, celestial creations. For example, an example of celestial creation, I'm speaking connotatively, y'all, right? There is no creation. There's just a transformation of energy, okay, into different things or beings, entities. For example, Virgo, the constellation Virgo, gave birth celestially to a son, not a flesh and blood Man. But what? A sun, an S-U-N, sun. All right, y'all? So a celestial birth. This is what the author, this is the direction that the author is taking us. So let's continue. If y'all got any questions and comments, put it in the comment section. I'll answer what I can answer. Or comment, I'll read the comment. Now it continues. So all of the planets are made in the image of the S-U-N sun and considered astronomically as male and female planets. So now the planets have gender. So clearly this is not sexual gender like a penis and a vagina. It is not that. It is gender in terms of energy. So opposites, like, for example, like hot and cold, negative and positive. All right, masculine and feminine, male and female. Okay, so the planets have gender. And by the way, gender, what would gender be hermetically? It's going to be the same hermetic law principle that we see all the time. Polarity, opposites. Right? Gender is going to be opposite. Male, female. Masculine, feminine. Hot, cold. Right? Hard, soft. So from hard, there's no east. Right? Or from hard, there's no up. Those are not opposites. So the law of polarity governs what is the law of opposites. Y'all see that? So gender, gender energetically, the law of opposites, the law of polarity. But of course, hermetically, gender is a law in itself, right? But we can see the other law that's directly associated with gender, especially if you talk about a masculine or female man. So you have a man with a womb and a man without a womb, a son with a womb and a son without a womb, God without a womb and a God with a womb. Okay? All right, so let's continue. Some planets are beneficial. All right? Some planets do good. They're beneficial to you. Others, unfortunate. Others can bring you bad things. Okay? Or some planets are fortunes, and some planets will bring you infortune. So again, that's the law of opposites, right? The law of polarity. So you wouldn't know love if there wasn't hate. So there must be hate in order for you to know love. Right? You wouldn't know hot if there was not cold. So the opposites have to be there. Okay? In order for us to be able to sense love, hate, hot and cold, hard and soft. All right, y'all? There has to be opposites. The law of polarity. Nothing was said of a seventh cycle or the information of anything on the sun's day. S-U-N-S, day. On the sun's day. Nothing was said. Neither do we find any mention of such until in the Roman New Testament. Notice he said the Roman New Testament. Why? Because it supports Rome. The New Testament is in favor of Rome. Period. Who benefits from the New Testament? Rome. Isaac says, hello, brother. Hello, Isaac. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Who benefits from the doctrines pushed in the New Testament? Rome. Right? You need to submit. That means give up your birthright. to whatever government is claiming to have jurisdiction or authority over you. You need to submit. You need to give up your birthright. Y'all see that? If you don't, according to the New Testament, you are in opposition with God and God will punish you. And you have nothing to be afraid of, according to the New Testament, unless you are a criminal. So therefore, all Moors in North America, according to the New Testament, if you, when you drive, when you are in your, when you're in your car, your mode of transportation, or you're riding a bike, whatever, a skateboard, whatever. I mean, where I come from, the policy enforcers, they would harass you if you were walking. They give you tickets for jaywalking, right? They harass you if you're riding a skateboard. They harass you if you're riding a bike. Where's your license? They pull you over, where's your license, right? And especially if you're in a car. Okay, so whatever mode of conveyance you are in, if you are a Moor, you get harassed. Now, I've experienced that my whole life when I was in North America. I don't know about y'all. And when a policy enforcer gets behind you, you get nervous because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if they're going to attack you, if they're going to try to get a free case on you, accuse you of this, say you got this in your car, that in your car. You don't know. You don't even know if you're going to survive the encounter. Now, if y'all have felt that feeling, according to the New Testament, you are a criminal. Because only a criminal has something to be nervous about or worried about, according to the New Testament. So you have been criminalized. Just your experience makes you a criminal, according to the New Testament. All right, so it is the Roman New Testament. All right? So neither do we find any mention of the seventh day, right? Anything being created. Let me go back to that. Nothing was said of a seventh cycle or the formation of anything on the Sunday. Now that's the seventh day, y'all, right? In Genesis chapter 1. The seventh day, God rested, right? Elohim rested. Neither do we find any such mention of such until the Roman New Testament, the S-U-N, which is the S-O-N, is made to declare himself. In other words, the Son, the S-U-N Son, personified as the S-O-N Son, is made to declare himself, quote unquote, Lord of the Sabbath. Observe, Lord, not God. And this is exactly what the S-U-N Son of our solar system is called astrologically. So y'all got that? The S-U-N Sun, the orb, the disk in the sky, is called Lord. Lord of Sunday. Okay, in other words, Lord of S-U-N day, Lord of Sun day. And ruleth the first day. And ruleth the first day. So it appears to me that he's saying that Sunday is the first day. Right? And so the two things are in keeping. So according to Genesis, there were 7 creative days. On the 7th day, the Elohim stopped creating. Right? Stop creating. And then the sun rules the first day. So the first day of the week. This is what the author is saying. So we have a 7th day and a first day. And what did the Catholic Church do in the 10 Commandments? They made the Sabbath on Sunday. And they claimed authority. They claimed to have the authority to do that because the Pope is responsible for managing the entire earth, all vegetation, all animals, all mores, all resources, all energy, all commerce, all contracts, anything of value, anything that has consciousness, even crystals, everything has consciousness in it. The only difference is the rate of vibration, right? The Pope claims to be the vicar of Christ, or the Pope claims that he is, the Catholic Church, has divine power to manage all of this, to give what they want to who they will. Hence you have the Sisyphus Trust, Unum Sanctum, the doctrine of discovery, so on and so forth. This is where the Pope gets his authority, all of it based in the Bible. Right? Everybody see that? So astrologically, the sun is Lord of Sunday, S-U-N day, and ruleth the first day. And so the two things are in keeping. So he's saying that they're consistent. We could have a long discussion about the seventh day and Sunday being the first day. And how is it that the first day and the seventh day are the same? That's what he means by the two things are in keeping. Observe also Genesis verse 4 and 5. I think he's talking about chapter 2. That states, observe also Genesis verse 4 and verse 5 state that these, listen y'all, that these are the generation, growth, or formation of the planets or heavens. So he's talking about Genesis chapter 2 now. See, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, 2, and 3 open up differently. This is Genesis chapter 2. This is from the original book of Genesis. Isaac says, don't they have a lot of sun, sun worship mixed into Catholicism? Catholicism is pure sun worship. But then all religions are pure sun worship. All the major religions are pure sun worship. It's masked. They just mask it over. But remember, the worship is a mask in itself because that's covering science, natural sciences. Okay? So the Catholic Church and others, all of these different religions that have a solar deity, they hid or masked the natural sciences with religion by personifying the planets, the stars, etc. In other words, they taught that the sun is a man. The S-U-N, sun in the sky, is a man. Okay? S-U-N, sun, in the word sun for the disk in the sky in Dutch and German, and the word sun in English, also in Dutch and German, is both sun. But they hid it. The orb in the sky, they spell S-U-N in English, and the masculine air, the baby boy, is a S-O-N, sun. Both are stars. Mercury, the planet Mercury, is Jesus, is Buddha, all of the solar deities, is Apollo, all of them, any solar deity. So astrology is the template that was used to write the story, the script, the book of all of the major religions, period. That's why when you understand astrotheology, you understand all religions, and you begin to see, for example, that Catholicism, Christianity, and Judaism is a hodgepodge of science that was masked over with religion coming from different parts of the world, different, like Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, but the science then masked over religion, and they just pull from it, right? And they use certain techniques to hide it that I've been revealing for years now. Okay, so that's what the deal is. Not just Catholicism, all of them. All right, now let's continue. So Genesis chapter 2, verse 4 and 5 state that these are the generation, growth, or formation of the planets or heavens. These are the generations. This is the account, the record of the growth, of the development, of the presentation of the heavenly bodies. I'm restating it. And the earth. Well, the earth is a heavenly body, right? And the earth, listen, y'all, when they were created. Now, I take issue with that word created. It should be something to the effect, I prefer when they were formed or transformed. But even still, that's an issue when you look at the etymology. Y'all go watch the video. I did a critical analysis of Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2 because the earth was already there. The earth was already there. Okay, y'all? So I take issue with this when they were created, and every plant of the field before it was in the earth. So there's a record of every plant before it was in the earth. So where is that record at? Why don't we see it in the book of Genesis? What happened to those pages? What happened to those verses? Let me read it again. Observe also Genesis 4 and 5. State that these are the generation, growth, or formation of the planets or heavens and the earth when they were created, and every plant of the field before it was in the earth. Where are those records? Why is it not in the book of Genesis? Chapter 2 opens up. These are the generations, or in other words, this is the account, this is the history of, this is the growth, this is the presentation. This is how it happened. All right? This is how it happened. All right? So when the earth and all the planets were created, and every plant. So you Christians, Hebrew Israelites, where are these records? Did the Catholic Church remove these records? Okay, this is the generation, growth, the history, the formation of every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb in the field before it grew. So is this talking about the genetic code, the genome of each plant, each herb? Or is it talking about the physical plant in its physical state Clearly not. Clearly not. It has to be talking about the genome or something of that sort. The genetic code. It has to be. Why? Because in order to have a physical plant, one, you need sunlight. Two, you need water for it to survive. Three, there has to be nutrition. In other words, there has to be minerals there. There has to be water. In fact, clean water. So that means the water has to be flowing. And there has to be a what? A system there to make sure that the water gets filtered and clean. Y'all see what I'm saying? So it is before the plants were in the earth. So it has to be talking about the genetic record, the written, well, maybe not written, I don't know what form, but it has to be the genome, not the physical plant itself. If the physical plant is out in space, wouldn't it freeze? And when the plant freezes, what happens to the cells? They expand, and then the cells die, right? Just like if you put a vegetable or a fruit in the freezer, you know, when you take it out, it's really no more good. The cells have expanded, the cells have burst. Why? Because water expands. Right, y'all? Y'all see it? And also, that there was not a man in all that earth to till the ground. So not only was there not vegetation, but there was a record of the genome that would be used to create, or not to create, but to transform that energy into a plant, into a herb, the many kinds that we have on earth. But there was no man. It didn't say that there was no mankind, but there was no man in all that earth. To do what? To till the ground. To take care of it. Everybody see that? But look at where the author is taking this conversation. Look at this. Look at the conclusion that he reads. So because of what we just read, listen to this, scholars. So that it was not a natural man who was ordained to have this dominion. So this is saying that in Genesis chapter 2, it's not talking about the transformation of a natural man, but a personified force likened to a man. Wait. A personified force likened to a man? Listen, y'all. Pay attention to that. The author is saying it's just not the deity picking up some dust, making clay out of it, and then he makes a man. No. There's energy already there. Listen. So according to the author, so that it was not a natural man who was ordained to have this dominion, but a personified force. Well, what is this personified force? What is this force that was personified as a man? Well, man, this is according to the Circle 7. Man is thought made manifest. Okay, from the soil. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Man is thought made manifest. So I see agreement with this personified force. Man is thought made manifest from the soil. Man is a force. In other words, energy. Energy has no beginning. That means it was not subject to birth. It's not subject to death. And it always is. Okay, whatever knowledge, whatever wisdom, whatever creativity, whatever awareness, consciousness, whatever there is embodied in that thought, encoded, embedded in that thought. Man is thought made manifest. That's why the scripture says, all of you are gods, sons of the Most High. Gods connotatively speaking. All of us are creators, being brought into the earth plane with all faculties that we could ever need, desire. All of that present at birth. And we don't need anybody else to do anything for us, including an external deity or a savior, a solar deity, a Jesus, a Buddha, or whatever. All right, we're given all of that at birth. All right, y'all. I hope y'all are following me. I hope I'm being effective in my communication. Now he continues. Someone writes, hello, hello. Someone writes, the author continues, likened to a man. Now here's where I disagree. Male and female, masculine and feminine, if we're talking about Genesis chapter 2. Male and female is Genesis chapter 1. Male and female are gender tags for animals. Hold on, y'all. For animals. Y'all look up the word human or monster in the law dictionary. Okay? What you see might surprise you. So men and women, sons with the womb and sons without a womb, are masculine and feminine. Moors are masculine and feminine, not male and female. Remember that next time you see that on an application. Male, female, yes, you're a cow, you're a sheep, you're a horse, you're a chattel. All right, that's what they're getting you to publicly state, admit that you are an animal, even though you don't know it. That's what's happening. Notice what it says, self-producing by magnetism or spiritual essence. So let's go back to our image at the beginning of the book. Let's take a look where the sun is. So the sun is responsible for facilitating life on earth. Okay? So y'all see the arrow and the cross? The cross is the Tau, the last pictograph or the last alphabet in the ancient Ibaryath. The cross, the horizontal bar, is the summer, is the fall and spring equinox. The vertical line here is the summer and winter solstice. This X, hold on, is the beginning of spring, when springtime began in Taurus. So what does that mean? If you were standing on the equator at 0 degrees, okay, on or around March 21, 22, at about 5:30 in the morning, you look over the horizon and you will see the constellation Taurus, the bull. But you'd have to be on the equator, okay, or between 23.5 degrees north and south. Okay, at the equator you see that twice a year. At the tropics, Tropic of Cancer, you see it once a year. Tropic of Capricorn, you see it once a year. Okay, so about 5:30 in the morning, 5:30 a.m., look out to the east, and you see Taurus rising over the horizon. And that will let you know that we're in the zodiacal age called Taurus. So even right now, if you're on the equator, go outside, 5:30 in the morning or so, right? Look toward the east and see what constellation, if you can make the constellation out, see what constellation is rising over the toward the east. Okay, do you see Pisces or do you see Aquarius there? If you see Aquarius, we are in the zodiacal age of Aquarius. We're in the age of Aquarius. If you see Pisces, we are still in Pisces. So now you don't have to wonder, what zodiacal age are we in? You don't have to wonder, are we in Pisces or are we in Aquarius? Just go down to the equator somewhere around March. Well, actually, you can go there now. Well, go down there March 21, 22 and see which one arises. Okay, but you need to know what Pisces looks like and you need to know what Aquarius looks like, right? If on March 21, 22, thereabout, you see Pisces, we're still in Pisces. If you see Aquarius, we're still in Aquarius, okay? So this X over here is the lion, Leo the lion. Okay, so summertime. This X over here, Virgo, Scorpio, which would have been the constellation Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. And then the X over here is the man, Aquarius. Okay? So winter, summer, spring, and fall, that's the four living creatures. And y'all see right in the center where each of the lines connect, God dwelleth between the cherubs. Okay, now let's go back to what we were talking about. Look at where the sun is. That's in the genitalia area, right? So this is the regenerative capacities of man, his testicles and penis, the woman's vagina and ovaries. Everybody see that? The sun rises every morning between about 5:30 and 5:45 a.m. in the morning everywhere you go on the planet. Well, no, because it doesn't happen in the North Pole. They have a long extended period of night. Okay, but everywhere else, the sun is rising. Okay, so unless the sun rises, there's not going to be an ongoing generation of plants and animals, right? There's not going to be a signal sent that the plants receive that there's enough sunlight for them to start growing again. Everybody see that? So the sun is responsible for there being conditions every year in springtime for the next generation of plants and animals, and for the Earth's temperature, weather, and climate to be such that it can facilitate life. All right? So this is what the author is talking about. So let's keep going. Where are we? Okay. So self-producing, we just went over that. By what? By magnetism or spiritual essence. We just went. So what is this magnetism? What is the spiritual essence? It's simply sunlight. Sunlight, the rays of the sun. They were, y'all got that? And they were the image of the Creator. Y'all, do y'all see this? The planets were in the image of the Creator, i.e. globular, planetary, full of light. Hold on. Heat, moisture, Now, just how is there moisture in the sun? I don't know. Right? Water vaporizes. So what do y'all think? Do y'all agree with the author that there's moisture in the sun? I don't know. I've never been there. But based upon the science that I know, water and fire don't exist together. The water will vaporize. But the water comes in different forms, right? Liquid water, vapor, ice, right? So liquid, gas, and ice. But anyway, let's look at this, y'all. So that it was not a natural man who was ordained to have this dominion. Remember in Genesis chapter 1? So he's mixing Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2. And I don't like that, because Genesis chapter 1 is a whole different story. Whole different story. Written by, if you believe the story, different people. Genesis chapter 1 is an insertion. It wasn't in the original book of Genesis, but he's mixing them. Why? Well, that's his Christian doctrine on how to come to understand or how to interpret the Bible, right? But anyway, let's continue. So that this man who was given dominion, remember he was given dominion over the fish of the sea, over everything moving on the earth. Now this is mankind. This is the Neanderthal. This is the Han Uman that was created in Genesis chapter 1. And he was given dominion over the Moor, over the autochthonous Moor, the aboriginal, ab meaning, I'm using the definition we got out of this book, the father, the generator, the original, the Abba the father, or Ab the father. What page was that on, y'all? I don't remember what page that was. Remember, you make a correlation to Abraham, Ram. Y'all remember that? Page. Y'all want to follow up on that? I suggest y'all follow up on that. That's on page 5. Okay, so Ab means father, original, generator. Okay? So the Moor is the father, original, the generator. Hold on. I hope I'm not bouncing around too much for y'all. Let me let the plane go by. So that it was not just a natural man, something that was made from the dust, didn't exist prior to. The author is saying it wasn't that. So there was not a natural man, somebody just made from the dust, didn't exist before, who was ordained to have this dominion, the dominion that was given in Genesis chapter 1 that I just talked about. But a personified force. Oh, well, thought. Thought is a force. Thought is mind, right? The first Hermetic law that the other 6 come from. Likened to a man. So, maybe this is where Noble Drew Ali got it, or maybe this is related to what Noble Drew Ali said. Thought is likened to a man. Okay, male and female. I told y'all it should be masculine and feminine. Self-producing. Okay, so the woman has a vagina, the woman has ovaries and a vagina, the man has testicle and a penis. By what? By magnetism, by light, by spiritual energy, by magnetism or spiritual essence. This is by light, by rays of light. Listen, they were created in the image of the Creator. They points to not the male and female. Listen, y'all. Globular, planetary, full of light, heat, moisture, cold, negative and positive, electrical and magnetic, intellectual, creative, attractive, repulsive, generating good, and what we poor mortals miscall evil. Y'all got that? With the luminous atmosphere creating light or electricity continuously and shining, though in a lesser degree than the sun. Like the central orb, the disk in the sky, the sun sun, the perfect one. Wow. Let's go back to the upper part of the paragraph that we just left. Listen. Now, in astrology, we have, according to the ancients, as governing or ruling and having dominion over the earth and all things ordained in it. The planets, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, and the moon, made in the image of the sun sun itself, or rather, himself, and considered astronomically male and female planets, some beneficial, some unfortunate, or fortunes and infortunes. Y'all see that? Now let's go back down to what we just read. And also, there was no man in all the earth to till the ground. The author continues. So that it was not a natural man who was ordained to have this dominion, but a personified force likened to a man. Thought made manifest. Thought also made the planets. Yes, consciousness, thought made the planets, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, and the moon, and all of the heavenly bodies. Do y'all see it? Do y'all see it? Men and women are masculine and feminine. The planets are masculine and feminine. The planets emit energy. Man emits energy. Fact. Man is magnetic, not just the energy that he actually man receives magnetic energy. Right? We absorb sunlight, which is magnetic energy, and we emit energy, which is another way of saying spiritual essence, light. Right? Light is spiritual essence. In other words, light is intelligent. There is intelligence embedded, encoded in light. Okay, y'all? So it says here that the planets are self-producing. In other words, self-sustaining. Self-producing. Why? Because they come from thought. All right? And they were made in the image of the Creator, or they were made in the image of the sun sun, globular, planetary, full of light, heat, just like men and men with the womb. Is it true that when we train our brain, we are said to be what? Brilliant, full of light. Let your light shine. We produce heat. This is the SOL, soul, in Latin, which means sun, sun. All right? We produce moisture, the planets, etc. I'm not going to go through every one, but y'all see the point. We have positive and negative energy. What is that? That's gender. That's Hermetic gender. Masculine and feminine gender. Everybody see that? We are, in fact, electrical and magnetic. Some of us even have what the people like to describe as a magnetic personality. People who are charming. Right? People who make you feel good just by talking to them, just by being around them, and can persuade you to do something even without you knowing that they're persuading you, like a great salesman or a great teacher a great professor, or someone who's very high on the narcissistic scale. Intellectual, so you think about the earth and all the different systems of the earth. All of that's held together and functions by law and principle. That's intelligent. Anyway, I'm not going to go further with that. But the Escheat sun is said to be the perfect one. So of course, the Freemasons refer to themselves, once they get to the higher or the upper echelon, the upper degrees, they call themselves what? Perfect ones. They're calling themselves sons. The Father. Well, who else is the Father? The Father is the Tetragrammaton. Yahu, Yahweh, Jehovah, Yahuwah, whatever you want to call him. Osiris is the Father, right, y'all? Odin, Woden, all of the solar deities. Because remember, the Father and the Son are one. So if you've seen the Son, you also saw the Father. Jupiter, right? You name it, it is what it is. So these Freemasons are calling themselves the perfect one, calling themselves the Father. Well, what did the Father do? Where's the power in that? Think about it. Why would they do that? Well, here's why. Because the Father created the trust. The Father, the deity, listen y'all, gave land grants to all of the families which became nations on the earth, according to the Genesis account. And the Father holds all of the land in trust. The Father is holding it in trust for his people. And they're calling themselves the perfect one, the Escheat Son. They're calling themselves the Father, the trust grantor. In other words, they're claiming ownership over all, or over the entire earth. All wombs, animal, men and women, and hybrids. Every living thing that creeps or walks upon the earth, they are claiming ownership of it. And therefore, they have the right to exterminate it or let it live. They have the right to put it on a reservation or let it roam free. They have a right to take a city by force. They have a right to enslave you. They got a right to lie to you about your nationality. Why? Well, because they're the trust grantor. And if they can get you to believe that, okay, well, you accept the doctrine of discovery, you accept unum sanctum. So you're getting down with it, and you abandon your birthright. Not knowing that they're phony. It's all fake. Y'all hear? So that's why they're calling themselves the perfect one. It's all about birthright and birthright theft. Okay? And uncoupling your eyes and ears from your mind so that you will consent to it. Because law is what you consent to. And the beginning of law is due process. So if you don't know nothing about nothing, well, you're screwed. Okay? You're screwed. All right? You'll be a bondman and a bondwoman, and all of your heirs will be. Okay? Until y'all wake up and learn who you are. Okay? Isaac writes, makes sense. Absolutely. So now let's continue. Astrologically, or if you will, biblically speaking, see, astrologically, biblically speaking, same statement. Hold on, y'all. Let me remove. Give me 1 second. I want to clean up the chat. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back, y'all. Give me 1 second. I'm cleaning up the chat. Y'all know every time I post a video, I have a problem with YouTube. And there's nothing in these videos that should be a problem. And so let me clean up the chat. Maybe it's something to do with the chats. All right, y'all. So let's continue. Where are we? I lost my spot. Hold on. Oh, okay. So the author continues, astrologically, or, if you will, biblically speaking. Okay, remember, it is the Bible, the Heliotext, the Biblios Heliotext, the book of the sun. All right, so equivalent statements. They are called the quote-unquote disposers of events or ministers. So the planets are called disposers of events or ministers. Why? Because the scripture says, let them serve for what? Signs, times, seasons, etc., right? For see Psalms, quote, I have made my ministers a flaming fire. I've made my ministers a flaming fire. All right, y'all? So this is saying that the planets are what? Prophets. This is saying that the planets are prophets, or the heavenly bodies are prophets. They prophesy. Among the Eastern nations, it was thought that all spiritual life first came from the sun and its magnetic descent to the earth. Y'all see that? All spiritual life. Let's remove the word spiritual. I don't like, actually, I don't like this at all. It says, amongst the Eastern nations, it was thought that all spiritual life. So spiritual in this context has to do with religion. Comes from the sun. So how do we correct this? How do we correct it? It was thought that all intelligence, all awareness, all consciousness first came from the sun and its magnetic descent. So what is this? So light rays, waves of light being emitted by the sun reaching the earth. Okay, this is what it's meant by the magnetic descent to the earth. Becoming earthbound or dwelling in the earth, and after passing through a series of evolutions, so the light rays pass through a series of evolutions and different kinds of births. Well, wait, different kinds of births. So this would be what? A transformation of energy from one being or one thing to another being or thing. Some people might call that reincarnation. Or from gold to silver. All right? So, and after passing through, we're talking about light, a series of evolutions and different births. That means different lifetimes, right? Different lives as in the form of different beings, entities, or things. And changes from the mineral, here we are, from the mineral, vegetable, and animal kingdoms, ascending, rising up, or descending, going down in the scale. So, for example, if you ascend, let's say you go from a dog to a man, or if you descend, you go from, let's say, from a man to a dog. All right. So, ascending up that scale or descending down that scale according to the good or evil magnetic rays at its birth and its various probationary existences. So y'all remember the probationary existences? Remember that when let's say, for example, when a man expires, the exact configuration of the stars of the heavenly bodies at the moment of expiration, the physical body dies. Once that exact configuration happens again, y'all remember that? Once the heavenly bodies are in that exact configuration again, that man becomes resurrected. So that this space in between, let's say T1, death, the configuration of the heavens at death, T0 rather, T0, the configuration of the heavenly bodies at death, let's say T1, that same configuration at the time of death of that man or woman, once that appears again in the sky, that man or woman is resurrected. This is what the author is talking about. And this space of nothing, the Catholic Church called purgatory. And then they monetized it. And they used the concept of the SOL, the soul, the SUN, sun in your body that produces warmth, that produces your ability to metabolize, to animate, to walk, to run, to think, to reproduce. The SOL in Latin, which is soul, SOL. In modern day English, it is SUN. I think in Dutch or German is ZOONNE, something like that. I did a community post, y'all. Don't hold me to that. Read the community post so you can get the exact spelling. And then they threw a U after the O and created this concept of a soul, SOUL, which will go to purgatory and be held there until you pay them. Or it's going to be held there and eventually go to hell. So you need to pay them to get out of hell and go to heaven. To avoid going to hell from purgatory and go to heaven. So they monetized it, right? They monetized the natural phenomena. Called it purgatory and then heaven and hell. And then they used that to create fear and rob you and your ancestors. To this day. To rob you of your birthright and any type of material things you may have now. I know people who gave their life insurance to a certain religious organization instead of unto their heirs, gave their house, all their property to a certain religious organization instead of giving it to their heirs. Why? Because they believed the doctrine. And they thought that they were helping that organization do God's will. Not knowing that they had been bamboozled and robbed. All right? And that's the truth, y'all. That's the truth. Let's continue. So, Anna... Hold on. So the author, let's pick up where we left off. The author writes, and its various probationary existences at last purified and intellectually refined. All right, so this let's say a man for a woman, for example, a man or a man or a woman. He does evil. He goes down to a dog. He does good. He goes up. He goes down. He goes up until finally he purifies himself as a man. He's higher self in the lifetime. He's paid off all the karma, whatever. And at last, however many cycles of reincarnation or regeneration he had to go through, at last purified and intellectually refined and master of self. I, self, law, am master. I, self, law, adept. Master. Y'all see it? He becomes the Christ on earth, in honor at all times, and stays in honor at all times, following the principles, the highest principles in the universe: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and keeping the most highest commandments that y'all would say in religion. In other words, living harmonically with nature. And master of self, the pure Ra. The pure Ra. The pure Ra, rays of light. The pure astral body at last was drawn back into the bosom of the Father. So hermetically speaking, this is what? Hermetically speaking, consciousness, thought will transform itself, for example, from the soil into a man. And you do whatever you do as a man, good, bad, or ugly. You go through whatever many life cycles or reincarnations, regeneration, until you become what? Master, adept. Until you become the Christ. Always in the higher self, always doing the will of your Father, always living by the principles of love, truth, freedom, and justice, always enforcing the law. Or what? Enforce the Constitution, right? Which are based upon, or they come out of natural law. Always following the instructions of your ancient foremothers and forefathers, Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. And then when you expire again, you go to the next realm, whatever that might be, let's say planet, I don't know, but okay, next dimension, in a higher life form, which means that the vibrational rate is higher. And from there, you go to the next higher one, all the way until you reach the highest, most glorious vibrational form that a being can reach. And then at some point, according to the Hermetic Laws, the all, remember, all things exist inside of the mind of the all. At some point, the all will gather everything back into itself. This is according to the Hermetic Laws. Now, whether you believe that, doesn't matter, right? That's just what that's the story according to the Hermetic Laws. In other words, all of this is going to end. But I don't believe that. I tell you my opinion, I don't believe that. I don't think everything is going to be gathered back into the all, and it's going to be gone away, and you'll be satisfied to go back into the all because you're going to know everything, and this I don't accept it. But that doesn't mean you should make your own decision about that. Okay? For me, it doesn't really make sense. And is riding on that notion that everything has a beginning and an end. That's really the reason why I don't accept it. because that's the very notion of evolution that's used as a justification for oppression. And what? And bondage and slavery. Right? In other words, birthright theft. Christianity. So at some point, everyone will become a master of self, the pure Ra, or astral body, and at last drawn back into the bosom of the Father, which is the S-U-N Son, from whence it was first originated. So, in this case, it would not be the S-U-N Son. What would it be? It would be unlimited consciousness, which is the all. Unlimited consciousness, which would be the all. So let's go back to the image. So just imagine here, right outside of here where my two fingers out, let's imagine that this is my two fingers. This is unlimited consciousness. Okay, unlimited consciousness emanates, and then all of these planets are formed from unlimited consciousness. There's no creation, it's a formation. All right? Everybody see that? Man is thought. Man is unlimited consciousness. Man is thought made manifest from the soil. Everybody see it? That's how, that's what's happening. For thus saith Paul, quote unquote, ye are all members of one body through Christ. Ye are all members of one body through Christ. Ye are all members of one body through Christ. Meaning what? You all emanate from unlimited consciousness. And the Son, the S-U-N Son, and the S-O-N Son, Horus, and the Father, Osiris, are one. Everybody see that? Everybody see it? Ye are all members of the body through Christ. Ye are all thought made manifest from the soil. Thought made manifest from the mind of the all, which is unlimited consciousness. Therefore, when I look at you, I see me. I am you, right? And you are me. We're the same. Everything that we come in contact with and experience, we're all the same. We have the same what? Same source, unlimited consciousness, the all, thought, right? Everybody see it? Ye are all members of one body through Christ, i.e. the Son, S-U-N Son, the disk in the sky, and the Son, Horus, right? And Osiris the Father are one, and Jesus and Yahoo are one. And Jesus and Jehovah, Yahweh, are one. Okay? To the uneducated, bigoted, and undeveloped individual, cramped in his ideas and knowledge, cramped in his ideas and knowledge. See that little brain, little mind, cramped in his ideas and knowledge. He just got a little bit. By settling down in the home of his fathers and forefathers, never leaving that domicile. In other words, well, I'm a Baptist because I grew up, my parents were Baptists, and their parents were Baptists. Well, I'm black because my mother and father are black, right? Well, why do you do this? Well, I do it because everybody else does it. Why do you go to work every day? I go to work every day because everybody else goes to work every day. Never leaving that domicile, knowing and caring for nothing but what the chained intellects of his ignorant forefathers have taught. Hey, and forced him to believe. Y'all see that? My ignorant foremothers and forefathers taught me Christianity. They taught me toxicity in a home, in a family. Y'all know Big Mama was messed up, right? Y'all know Big Mama? She was messed up. She was abused. Now, I'm not talking all, but I'm talking about many, if not most. Abused and an abuser. Okay? There's nothing endearing. There's nothing romantic about treating babies, young people harshly. And it's not healthy. So we need to come to terms with that. The way we were raised, there's a lot of toxicity. Yeah, we can romanticize and we remember our grandmothers and great-grandmothers, yes. But a lot of stuff that they said and did was out of ignorance and because they had been abused. Not just by their family members, but abused in society. Right? And they learn to be abusive. As opposed to compassionate and loving. And in the past, those ancestors deprived of freedom of speech and liberty. Yeah, Big Mama was deprived of freedom of speech and liberty, and so was your grandfather. That's why people really never talk about their grandfathers. They were deprived of freedom of speech and liberty. But it's a natural, our birthright is what? We have a right at birth to enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit and enjoyment, the possession of property. Right? But this was taken away from our ancient ancestors, and it's pretty much been taken away from those of you who are in North America. Right? Pretty much freedom of speech is pretty much finished. And they use excuses. The fascists, they're using excuses, right, to censor. Which excuses have been tried in the past, but they couldn't get away with it. Right? But they've sufficiently dumbed the people down enough now where they're able to make up these excuses. For example, like a violent man or woman in a relationship will say, well, you made me hit you. And then they justify it. You made me take away your right. Your freedom of, you made me censor you. Right? Because of any reason they want. So our ancient ancestors, Big Mama, your grandfather, your mother, your father, were deprived of freedom of speech and liberty, even of thought, by a tyrannical priesthood. Y'all see that? So even from the times, let's say on the plantation, the preachers are preaching. They didn't have freedom of speech. Why? There was one of the oppressors there. There was a traitor more there who would turn them in, who watched everything that they did. They were given what? The slave Bible. Y'all know the whole story, right? They were tricked into worshiping demons as gods. For example, Yahweh, Jehovah, worshiping demons as gods. Y'all ever notice that the more the Christians and the Muslims pray, the worse the world has gotten? Y'all ever notice that? They've been praying for peace and they've been praying for this for generations, but everything has been getting worse. Now, of course, Hebrew Israelites and Christians will say, well, that's because it's God's will. Right? The end times. No, it's not. That's not God's will. Because you don't even know who God is. So unless you can identify who this God is, how are you going to know his will? There is no external deity. There is no God. This is a modern concept. God is the modern day spelling of Odin and Woden. God can be applied or is applied to many people. It's translated from Elohim, which is, what's a long story? Y'all go back and watch. I don't feel like going into all of that. But anyway, you got to get your etymology right. You have to get the meaning of the words correct. Okay? So they were denied freedom of thought. Okay, they gave you the slave Bible. Slave Bible only had in there what they wanted you to know to justify slavery and to get you to agree and submit to being a bondman or a bondwoman, to being a servant. They needed you to consent and accept it. So you didn't even have freedom of thought. They controlled that through your what? Through literature. By a tyrannical priesthood, right? Even your preacher, your pastor today is a tyrant because a lot of them are aware of what I'm talking about. But they will not tell you. They won't tell you why. Because they're riding you, living off of you. By inquisition and torture. By inquisition, by investigating you, asking you a million questions, checking to see what you got, what you own, what you hold, and then trying to take it from you by any means necessary. Accuse you of this, accuse you of that, force you to give it up. How do they force you to give it up? Well, one, they put you in a civilly dead state. Okay? So now you're nothing more than a serf. You're nothing more than a serf, a servant, a bondman. And they get you to consent to giving up your birthright, thereby escheating you. And then they return whatever they can from you under the guise of helping you as your attorney. And then they hypothecate your birthright and create what they call a national debt and put it on your shoulders when it's not yours at all. And actually, you know what, y'all? Fiat, of course, is not money. They can print as much money. They can print one bill, one coin, and denominate it for whatever the total amount of the national debt is. Issue that, right? It would be discharged, and then there's no more. But do you think they would do that? Absolutely not, because this is all an excuse to put you under financial pressure and to justify them taking your property, whatever it is you may have been able to acquire with Federal Reserve notes, and to keep you from moving up in social status. So in other words, they're protecting their position as elites by doing this. But the people in mass are ignorant. And those who know, they don't do anything about it. And torture, okay, and torture, y'all know, well, in my opinion, well, let's not go into that. And auto-da-fe. And auto-da-fe. which means, let me see if I remember the auto de fe, public, to publicly, what does it mean? To publicly claim a belief. That's not the best definition, but it's something, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Public declaration of a belief or something like that. Give me 1 second. I forgot it. Maybe I wrote it on the other page. Hold on. Here it is. Acts of faith. So acts of faith. I'm going to throw in there public acts of faith. So you need to demonstrate publicly that you are a Christian. If you're in a Muslim world, you need to demonstrate publicly that you are a Muslim. Otherwise, curtains. Okay? So this is what they did. Notice it's a trinity. Inquisition, torture, acts of faith. Huh? Or maybe the priest or the clergy class would torture you as them performing an act of faith. Right? So for example, the wise women who knew the science, the herbal sciences, who they branded as witches because they could use plants to heal you. And then they would torture them, right? Burn them at the stake. As what? As an act of faith, right? Forwarding Christianity, forwarding whatever the religious doctrine or institution might be. They're doing it as what? As an act of faith to forward their religion. But you, on the other hand, as a Moor, you need to cough up your birthright, become a Christian as it, or become a Muslim as a what? As an act of faith, public act of faith. And then they leave you alone. All right? The page continues. We're on 21 now, y'all. Transmitting to successive generations. So that would be up into us now. So through torture, through inquisition, and these acts of faith that I just talked about, through ignorance, through denial of freedom of speech, denial of liberty, and even the denial of thought, being lied to, being terrorized, okay? They transmitted to the ongoing generations up until now, present day, of fear and trembling. That's why the black people get scared. I'm speaking connotatively. The blacks and the African Americans, they get scared around white people. They get uncomfortable around white people, right? Connotatively, black and white. We know those are political statuses, but I'm speaking so everyone understands what I mean. There is no black people and there is no white people. And by the way, people is both singular and plural. To those who have been taught that the thunder is the voice of God, the voice of Odin and Woden, of Apollo, etc., Osiris, Jupiter, the magistrate, the magi, the politician, you name it, okay? Enlightening the flashing of his eyes. And that Sunday, S-U-N, Sunday, or any other day, is the day especially set apart by the maker of the universe for his worship. These are religious people he's talking about. So religious people have been given, let me rephrase that. So the ancestors of religious people have given them, through their generations, fear and trembling. Successive generations of fear and trembling. How did they get it? They got it through learning the religious doctrine, and then it being given life in the church, in the community, through what? Through inquisition, through torture, and through public acts on either side. The priest performing a public act, right? Like the Salem witch trials, or the Moor performing a public act, declaring he's a Muslim, declaring he's a Christian. All right? But what else might be public acts? So an act of faith. Acts of faith. Okay, acts of faith. That's the type of public act. Acts of faith. All right, y'all? And remember, we got this through ignorant people. Our ancestors were ignorant. And it's not saying something bad about them. It's just the truth. Our ancestors were ignorant. Right? Not at their own fault, but they were forced to be ignorant. They were forced into ignorance. For those who believe, so that's all y'all religious people, that only certain individuals are chosen and ordained to speak for themselves and in an unknown tongue, speaking in tongues, and that it is his or her duty to rob himself. See, the essence of natural law is to what? Not harm anyone, including not harming yourself. But you've been taught that it's your duty to rob yourself. How? Well, instead of you doing what you need with whatever fiat, or in our ancestors' case, money they had, they give it to the church. They give it to pastor. Or they give it to the synagogue, or they give it to the imam. Y'all hear? Or you go out, you celebrate Christmas, and you buy all this stuff on credit, and then what do? You tell your heirs Santa Claus gave it to them. You just robbed yourself. Right? You just robbed yourself of the respect and the dignity that your heirs would have had for you if you just would have told them the truth, which is that you provided it for them, right? So you robbed yourself to rob himself or herself of the comforts of life, to rob yourself of the comforts of life to support those chosen ones in idleness. In other words, the preacher, the imam, the reverend, the pastor, the general, the pope, who is too lazy to do any type of real work with his mind or even with his hands. Too lazy. But he can get up there and talk about nothing, make it sound good. Right? And sweet talk you out of your finance. But you could keep that finance, get yourself a reliable car. If your car is unreliable, get yourself a beautiful, luxurious car. Get yourself a beautiful, luxurious house. If you have the finances for it. But you don't, because why? You're giving a tithe to the church. You give this to the reverend and that to the pastor and this to the imam because you've been taught that you're going to get it back. You got to sow into the kingdom of God, right? If you sow into God, God will sow into you. That's just sweet talking you out of your finance. Okay? But you've been convinced that it's the right thing to do. Why? Because you've been taught the Christian doctrine and you accept it. And you rob yourself out of the comforts of life. And a lot of y'all might be thinking, oh, the comforts of life, y'all might take an issue with having the comforts of life. But remember, the blessings in Deuteronomy 28, the blessings are what? Gifts, tangible gifts. a luxurious lifestyle. Let me repeat it. A luxurious lifestyle. In other words, an abundance of material things. Not to mention healthy babies when you give birth, safe and secure homes, communities, nations, and kingdoms, nations and the empire. Our noble status. Not to mention that. So maybe you're already receiving. I don't know you. I don't know how you live. I don't know what you give to your church. But you're robbing yourself if you're doing what a Christian should do in terms of giving those tithes and paying this and paying that. This is what the author is telling you. And you're giving it to a lazy bum who couldn't do anything else if not for preaching. We're just sitting there and just talking. He is talking, sweet talking you. To him who has no knowledge of geography and none of astronomy, you religious people, especially y'all U.S. citizens who are globally known and ridiculed as being stupid. That's the truth. When it comes to geology and most subjects that you study in school, I'm just telling y'all what people say. Okay? Outside of the U.S., people laugh at y'all. And none of astronomy, to whom geology is a hidden mystery. To him who dare not deny what his common sense, if used, would spurn in derision as an idle tale trumped up by the priestcraft, viz., the existence of anything adverse to the inevitable law of the omnipotent or so-called miracles. In other words, you've been conditioned to turn off your common sense, right? And if you were using your common sense, you look at the situation you're in right now and the stupid stuff that you're doing, like giving away all your finance, you'd have to laugh at yourself after you stop crying. Once you get over what a fool you've been, then you can laugh at yourself. I think this is the author's point. All right? Why? Because all this doctrine, as the author has said, has been trumped up by the priestcraft. All right? The existence of anything adverse to the inevitable law, anything contrary to law, contrary to natural law. All right? Now let's continue. Who never thinks, talking about the religious person, who never thinks of the countless millions of humans? So whenever you see humans, I would like for you all to think Han Uman, Genesis chapter 1, the genetically engineered kind of a man who has no substance, but a symbolicum of a man. Man is Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, thought made manifest from the soil. So this human is a monster by lawful definition, is Han Uman, is the hybrid, troglodyte, Nigger, okay, y'all, is the Neanderthal. All right? So make sure you understand and you have that in memory. So let's replace this with man, whom never thinks of the countless millions of men being born and dying each second, and of the endless number who have existed and passed away in the millions of years of earth life up to the present, and whom Christians so-called are so few in number as to not be compared as a drop of water in an ocean. So y'all imagine the ocean being all the people that have ever existed for millions of years on the earth, or if you can't deal with that, Christians for 6,000 years. the millions upon millions of people who have lived upon the earth. Okay, that's the ocean. And then you look at the last 2,000 years or so of Christianity. That's not even a drop in the bucket of the number of people on the planet. And you think that something special is out here for you and you're just a drop? Right? You think that just because you go to the ocean and pee in the water, the whole ocean gonna turn yellow? Absolutely not, right? It's insignificant. Now let's continue. To those who are taught and believe, all else are pagans. So everybody else in the ocean, or that whole sea of people, they're all pagans. Idolaters, heathens, and accused, and accursed rather. Those who have not the least knowledge, not the slightest idea of what they are talking about, whose ideas of the Almighty God of the universe, the Lord God of all hosts, y'all, are the heavenly bodies. The great father and great mother, so the great father would be Osiris, right? The great mother would be Isis. In Christianity, the great father would be Yahweh, Jehovah, etc. The great mother would be Mother Mary. In astrology, of course, that all of this comes from, we're talking about the sun, Virgo, or the moon. Okay, moon mot. The moon is feminine, but let's keep going. Are as a personal God, confined to a locality. Personal God, personified, personal God, man in the sky with a beard, looking down at everything you are doing, sitting back, waiting to punish you. Confined to a locality, who only comes when prayed for, and interferes particularly for those who beg and tease him or pray to him. How about if you had a friend like that who wouldn't help you if they saw you needed help? You need to go beg them. Y'all know what y'all would do. Y'all would say, I wouldn't even want a friend like that. I wouldn't even consider that person a friend. If they know I need help and I can't do it so easily by myself, if they have the ability to do it easily, won't cost them anything, right? Because supposedly this external God has everything. There's nothing he can't do. Not going to cause them any kind of inconvenience, but I need to go beg. I need to go ask 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, keep begging, asking, praying, and he won't do it. Y'all know good and well you wouldn't even be friends with a person like that. Come on now, tell me the truth. You would think this kind of person is a dirty, rotten, wicked SOB. Tell the truth, y'all. You wouldn't want to have nothing to do with a person like that. In fact, you would feel insulted if you had a friend who did you like that, right? Wouldn't you? Tell the truth. You wouldn't consider that person a friend anymore. You needed to beg them to get them to do something. So this is the twisted morality of this tetragrammaton deity, this Jehovah deity, all right? This is also the hidden bad morality in in the Bible, okay? Remember, these accounts, these stories have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or more different meanings, okay? And because you are on the outside of the house, remember, Jesus cursed you. Why do you speak to the people in parables? He says so that although they have eyes to see, they will never perceive. Ears to hear, they will never understand. For what reason? So that you never have a chance to repent and be saved. All right? So that's what's happening here. We're going to finish this up, y'all. I got to bounce. Islam to all the Moors. I'm Dr. Yasafa from Zion Law School. Thanks, everyone, for supporting my work. Buy my books. Y'all go out and buy my books, okay? Show me some love. If you appreciate my work, subscribe to 101 Ancient Ibaryath class. If you already have, I want to say thank you. Also, thanks everybody for supporting my project to write the Book of the Law in Ancient Ibaryath and Modern English to restore the Zodiac, the astrology, astronomy, the natural phenomena, the constitutional principles, the Hermetic Laws. They're there, but it's hidden. It's hidden from you. So if you guys support that project, I will restore it. I will restore it in the Book of the Law. All right? Everybody's welcome to come every Saturday to 506 The Curses course at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right? So thanks again, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Islam to all the Moors, and Shalawama.